Okay, we are back again, and this time we get to talk about a potential war crime that the Trump administration might have done against a Venezuelan boat. So the Trump administration has argued that so boat suspected of smuggling drugs is said to have turned to the U.S. before attacking it. So the Trump administration has argued that the summary killing of 11 people it accused of running drugs was legal under the laws of war. So essentially, there was a boat from Venezuela that the U.S. military blew up that they claimed was smuggling drugs, but that's just it. It's a claim, right? And even if they are smuggling drugs, does that give the military the right to just blow them up like that? Because it's not like the Venezuelan military was attacking us. It was a gang that controls drugs. That's a little bit different. And of course, the only reason why they would even bring that to the US is because Americans are the ones who buy them, who buy the drugs. So it's a little bit different than just, it's not like they were attacking us and then we had to respond with the military. So let's read into this a little bit. So a Venezuelan boat that the US military destroyed in the Caribbean last week had altered its course and appeared to have turned around before the attack started because the people on board had apparently spotted a military aircraft stalking it. So not only is it just claimed that they were smuggling drugs, but we don't know. But now they potentially also turned around, indicating that they weren't going in the direction of the US. Hmm. The military repeatedly hit the vessel before it sank, the officials added, speaking on the condition of anonymity to discuss the sensitive matter. President Trump has said he authorized the strike and claimed the boat was carrying drugs. Claimed. So one thing that's interesting is there were 11 people on the boat, right? And it's a small boat. Like, here's a picture of it, right? So you can see there's a lot of people on here. I'll full screen it. I'm not going to play the video of it because YouTube may not like that. But you can see it's a small boat with 11 people on it. That's kind of a lot if you're smuggling drugs, right? Like, you need room for the drugs, too. It's also possible it might have been a human smuggling operation and not even related to drugs in general, which makes sense that there were 11 people on there. The disclosures provide new details about a military operation that was a startling departure from using law enforcement means to interdict suspected drug boats. Yeah, you're supposed to use law enforcement against criminals, not the military. Legal specialists who have called it a crime to summarily kill suspected low-level smugglers as if they were wartime combatants said the revelations further undercut the administration's claim that the strike is likely justified as self-defense. So Trump claimed the people were heading to the United States and were part of the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua. He hasn't put forth any evidence to these assertions, but has said, we have tapes of them speaking. And what does that mean, speaking? Like speaking Spanish? Yeah, because they're Venezuelan, but that doesn't mean that they're a military target. Come on. So Secretary of State Marco Rubio has said people suspected of smuggling drugs towards the United States pose an immediate threat, and then Trump in a letter of Congress justified the attack as self-defense. The thing though is Americans do die from like fentanyl and like drugs that are smuggled here, but it's Americans paying for this and Americans who are doing the drugs. It's like, it's kind of it's only exists because there's a demand by Americans for it. Americans are the ones who give money to these organizations. And then further down here, many legal specialists, including top military lawyers, have rejected the idea that Mr. Trump has legitimate authority to treat suspected drug smuggling as legally equivalent to an imminent armed attack on the United States. If one accepted the premise for the sake of argument, they added, if the boat had already turned away, that would further undermine what they saw as an already weak claim of self-defense. So it was a weak claim to begin with, but now that we know that apparently the boat was turning around, it's even less of a claim, and it may not even have had drugs in the first place. Also, it was still a good distance from the U.S. And look how small the boat is again. Was this really going to make it all the way to the U.S. on its own? Evil narco-terrorists trying to poison our homeland. Very strong language. So, yeah, it kind of ties into these other ideas we've been talking about how Trump is in love with dictators and he wants to take us back to the age of empires where strong countries can bully their weaker neighbors. Putin wants to take Ukraine, China wants to take Taiwan, and the US might go to war with Canada, Mexico, Venezuela. This is kind of how the new order of the world is shaping out in the 21st century. The strong countries get their sphere of influence, and you're able to do things like this. This is beneficial to Putin. This is beneficial to Xi. They like it when Trump does things like this. I'm just gonna scroll down here to see if there's anything else worth mentioning. Um, if there's a civilian boat, so this is Senator Jack Reed of Rhode Island, the ranking Democrat on the Senate Armed Services Committee, told CNN the administration had provided no evidence the boat was taking drugs to the United States. Yes, there's still no evidence. If there's a civilian boat that's suspected of anything, particularly in international waters, you have to make an attempt to stop it. Yes. And they didn't. They just fired and asked questions. Never. They didn't even ask questions later. They never did. You only fire, really, if fired upon. Yeah, that is supposed to be the rules of engagement that the military uses, and this boat did not pose a threat to the military. They could have observed it, sure. They could have tried to stop it, maybe, but the idea that you just blow it up like that is absolutely crazy. Jeffrey Korn, a retired un uniformed, I thought I said uninformed, a retired uniformed lawyer who was the Army's senior advisor for law of war issues, said he believed Mr. Trump's and Mr. Hegseth's order was not justified as an act of self-defense. He expressed concern that what he saw was apparently illegal order and was passed down through the military chain of command and carried out. The apparent turning of the boat before the attack began, he said, reinforced that judgment. I think it's a terrible precedent, and we crossed a line here. And yes, that is true. Where does it end, you know? Is Venezuela going to react to this? Are we going to end up becoming more hostile with Venezuela? Does this give us more um, like justification to attack our neighbors too? We can just suspect them of, oh, they're smuggling drugs. Now we can attack them. Does this normalize stuff like that? And it also normalizes it when other countries do it too. This is just not a good state the world is going down right now. Well, thanks for watching.